Good evening and welcome to the Left, Right and Centre. This morning, Mahendra Chawla, a key witness in a sexual assault case against Narayan Sai, the son of self-styled godman Asaram Bapu, was shot at and is battling for life in a Panipat hospital. He is the sixth witness who's spoken against Asaram and his son to have been attacked, two of whom have died. The attack once again highlights a critical gap in our law enforcement and justice systems, that of witness protection. If the system doesn't offer them or their families safety and security, how can they be relied on to help provide critical evidence to prosecutions? From RTI activists to eyewitnesses who testify, to whistleblowers who blow open corruption, to police informers, they've all become targets of the systems and individuals they have tried to take on. So we ask tonight why laws to provide witness protection haven't been strengthened in the country. Also on the show, new changes to the Child Labour Act allow children above 14 now to work in non-hazardous home businesses during school holidays and outside of school hours. What does this mean? Does it dilute an act meant to safeguard children from exploitation? And of course, we'll go across to China as Prime Minister Narendra Modi heads there for his first visit as Prime Minister. We talk to Indian and Chinese students at the university in Beijing on everything from politics to Bollywood. But first, of course, we said not one, not two, but six witnesses attacked, two of whom are now dead. The common link, they were all about to testify against the self-styled godman Asaram Bapu and his son Narayan Sai. Do repeated attacks call for having a witness protection law now? That's the question we ask.
Two self-styled godmen, father and son, 2 cases of sexual assault and 3 witnesses shot dead. Witnesses who were key to proving the cases against Narayan Sai and Asaram. And now another witness shot at. 32-year-old Mahendra Chawla was one of the main witnesses and a former aide of Narayan Sai. He is currently recuperating at a Panipat hospital. Chawla is one of the main prosecution witnesses in the case, where 2 Surat sisters have alleged that they had been sexually assaulted by Narayan Sai between 2002 to 2005. Chawla was alone at home when 2 men arrived on motorbikes and entered his residence. A struggle followed and he tried to jump off the balcony but was shot in the back twice.
Seems to be desi tha, because it caused a very ghastly wound, right? And some metal fragments have been recovered from the body.
Family members of Mahendra Chawla are shaken and scared and not willing to speak to us on camera. They are telling us that it is pretty evident that Chawla was attacked and targeted because he's a key witness in the Narayan Sai sexual assault case. And the fact that Narayan Sai was out on bail just a few days back is also a very significant development. But they are not willing to speak out and make allegations against anyone because they are still worried about their own personal safety.
Like Narayan Sai, witnesses in his father and self-styled godman Asaram's case have also been killed. Akhil Gupta was shot dead on his way home from work last January near Muzaffarnagar in Uttar Pradesh. He was a witness in one of the sexual assault cases filed against Asaram. And in June last year, Amrut Prajapati, Asaram's physician, was also shot dead by unknown assailants at Rajkot in Rajasthan. Though some arrests were made, the police have so far found no clues to connect these murders with either Asaram or Narayan Sai.
His family members are in regular touch with us. Nothing concrete has been provided by them so far.
But none of this seems to affect Asaram, who gave this brazen response on his way to a court hearing this morning. And so the big question. With witnesses being targeted repeatedly, will the cases against the so-called godmen Narayan Sai and Asaram fall apart? With Rohit Bhan and Harsha Kumari Singh and camera person Sudhir, Tanima Biswas for NDTV.
Well, to discuss the need for witness protection programs in India, joining me in the studio is the former Commissioner of Police in Delhi, Ved Marwa, with us. Also joining me, the mother of Nitish Katara, Neelam Katara, who's joining us from her residence, and from Mumbai, Shaina NC of the BJP, joining us on this discussion as well. Ved Marwa, I want to actually open this with you. We're hoping to be joined by some legal voices as well in the course of the next few minutes. But The idea of witness protection, why is it one that hasn't taken on in this country? It would make the job of police investigators also so much easier to be able to provide certain safeguards.
You know, here there are two issues. One, as you said, is protection of the witnesses. Now, protection of witnesses for all the cases may not be a very practical idea, because you need resources which you simply don't have. And in any case, the crime syndicates, the way they operate, they will be able to get over this protection arrangement. But the second issue is more important, that is the functioning of these crime syndicates. Now, when the first witness was shot, it was important that the authorities had taken this very seriously. It is not just providing physical protection, they should have investigated the case. They should have found out who are the people who are behind these attacks, and then maybe these further attacks would have been prevented. You see, it is the beginning of organized crime and operation of crime syndicates in our country, and this poses a very serious threat to security of an ordinary citizen. We are seeing what is happening in some of our neighboring countries.
Right. Right. Shaina Insi, let me bring you in on this discussion as well. Different courts, high courts as well as the Supreme Court has essentially advised the government to look at legislation for witness protection. The Delhi government in fact has a draft that also talks about how to create these frameworks and guidelines. Is there any move within the government right now to sort of push this? Because what we've seen today with the witnesses in Asaram Bapu's case, in this particular case there have been 6 people who've been attacked, 2 have died.
I think, Maya, this is not just about Asaram's case, where clearly there seems to be an agenda where one is, murdered and the other is thrown acid on. These are all pressure tactics.
Right.
But yes, I think if you actually go back in time, the credit needs to be given to Mrs. Katara herself, because she fought valiantly for witness protection at a time when people, the rich and powerful, were completely manipulating the system. And there we were talking about protection to be given to all. But there are different cases. You take countries like the US, like South Africa, like Australia, where there are special provisions. Unfortunately, in India, there are lakhs and lakhs of such cases. So how does one assure that the witness does not turn hostile? I'd like to narrate to you one case in Kashmir where you had that Kashmir rape case, and the case came up for hearing after 22 years.
Yeah.
So how can you expect the witnesses, even if they want to comply or adhere to the law, how do you expect them to completely, show up and be a part of a trial which they may have forgotten themselves? There are many, many other serious cases and issues where one has seen the manipulation of systems, where there have been, in dowry cases where the parents themselves are not willing to even testify as witnesses for their daughter.
Right.
So I think that we need to look at it as a holistic solution, which can only happen through fast track courts, which should be our genuine endeavor. And when one talks about our government, yes, we are working towards the Whistleblowers Act. And I hope that in the days to come, people will have faith in the system and want to be witnesses. You take the Keenan Rubin case in Mumbai. I mean, despite a fast track announced by the Chief Minister, the case didn't even start for a year.
Okay.
So what faith does that give
you're making an interesting
witness
point
vis-a-vis the administration?
I think there's an interesting point, certainly one that merits further debate. One is that what kind of resources would be required. Of course, there are other countries in the world that have this, but maybe fast track courts and fast track justice is a way to ensure that the situation doesn't come to this. Neelam Katara, come in on this. As Shaina also pointed out, you have fought for witness protection in the case that you yourself were fighting. Now, how difficult was it for you to ensure that people would stand by their testimonies?
Well, it was very difficult. First of all, there were no witnesses. Such was their fear psychosis. And, we had I was pitted against the sons of a sitting MP of supported by Sainaji's party at that time, DP Yadav, he was a Rajya Sabha member. So people were petrified. They felt that nothing is going to come out of this case, and why should we uselessly take enmity with such a man? But the witnesses who came, they were threatened. We had a policeman who said that he had seen Nitish with these two going by, and he retracted. He was suspended, but I don't know what came of it finally. So people were scared, even his friends were scared, and the single witness, apart from Bharti, of course, who did depose partly in our favor, who has stood out, has been harassed in every possible way.
Right.
This in spite of the fact that he does have armed guards. Today there are cases with him against him from Gurgaon, Bulandshahr, Ghaziabad, Agra, I don't know where all. So so when you have examples like this, why will witnesses come and depose?
That's a valid question. In fact, KTS Tulsi, come in on this as well, because there is an international criminal court that calls for witness protection programs. Now, India is not a signatory to the Rome Statute, which calls for this. Why is it that our legal system does not find a provision? There's some vague references in the law that go back to 1872 as far as witness protection is concerned. Why haven't we progressed beyond 1872 when we're seeing what's going on with whistleblowers, with witnesses in key cases, with RTI activists? In the case of as recently as this Ravindra Patil, Salman Khan's bodyguard, who died of tuberculosis, he was sacked from his job, his family says, because he testified against a celebrity.
See, we have no idea about witness protection program, and we allocate zero amount for witness protection. The total budget of law and justice is 0.5%. Justice is the last priority of the state, when it ought to be really the first priority to protect people's lives and property. But we are not willing to spend any money on justice system. Where are we going to spend money on witness protection? We are not willing to modernize the criminal justice system, where the statements of witnesses can be video recorded on tamper-proof technology in secure interrogation rooms. The statements of accused can be recorded in the same fashion, where we don't want to invest in mobile forensic vans where scientific evidence can be collected on the spot.
Okay.
Because that is what will speed up the criminal justice system. Witness protection means giving a person and his family a new identity, a secret place. There are billions of dollars in the United States. Paid for by the state. The state, in the United States, it's the federal attorney general and the state attorney generals who are responsible for providing witness protection.
Right.
And they sanction the amount. They ensure that the entirely new identity is given.
Okay.
During Tada, when the terrorism was at its peak in Punjab, I was a prosecutor. All that we had was that there was a provision in the Tada Act that we could keep the identity of the witnesses secret. Now, when I talk to the complainants and ask them whether they will identify the accused in the court, they would laugh at me. I said, no, but your identity is secret. They said, we live in this adjoining village. They know my children, they know my grandchildren.
Right.
How am I supposed to be able to identify a terrorist?
Okay, so
there is absolutely no connect between witness protection and the criminal
when you're
justice
dealing
system.
with that kind of fear and dealing with those kinds of pressures, it's going to be virtually impossible at individual levels. As a prosecutor, you're saying about your experience in Punjab, but it's not for individual lawyers and individual prosecutors to assure safety. Ranjana Kumari, you have gone to the court to ask for this kind of legislation. There was talk about legislation. Parliament allowed it to lapse without a discussion. What does that do to people like you and the struggle you're taking to the courts to bring in a legislation for witness protection?
Well, you see, Meera, this is an issue which has been on for a long time. We have been asking for witness protection because, I think in our system, because we take too much of excuse about finances, we are not able to, manage any kind of modernization, we are not able to manage any kind of, but these are two different issues. One is witness turning hostile, which is of course because the process takes so long and sometimes it is so dangerous and sometimes it is so, just people lose interest, they don't think that it is, they have enough time to go and sit through the whole day in the court, day after day, and then finally their turn will come to speak. So I think it's very important to understand that that is witness turning hostile is different. What we are saying here is that you have to protect key witnesses in these kind of cases, where if at all, if there is no witness protection protocol, then they will be attacked, killed, brutalized, intimidated, bought over by the cases, and very obvious, you know, because politicians have always got away with that.
Right.
You remember in Chara Ghotala how many people really died. Then you remember now recent case of Salman Khan, how after 12 years you get someone to come and start from the defense side and, you know, start talking about, I mean, all kinds of manipulation of justice system is so obvious.
So let's bring Shaina
only for the high and mighty and rich.
All right. Let's just bring Shaina NC back in this, because Shaina, what many of our panelists are also talking about is collusion between local political leaders and whoever is in the dock for crimes. I mean, the kind of collusion that puts the fear of God into witnesses from coming out and speaking. You can promise them anonymity, you can promise them closed door hearings, you can promise their family safety, but ultimately, if they see this kind of a nexus, they don't feel secure enough, and it is for the political class to provide that security. That's one. The second that even KTS Tulsi is talking about, that the budget that's allocated for justice and the meting out of justice in this country is so negligible. Do you think it's time for the government at the center to look at increasing that allocation?
Absolutely. I concede to a lot of the points you're saying, Maya. Number one, that yes, there needs to be an allocation, but at the same time, if we don't have these fast-track courts, it would be the same Kashmir story where a rape case, you know, the trial starts after 22 years, by which time, where are the witnesses at the outset? You talked about the rich and powerful and being in collusion. I want to say 2-3 points there. Times have changed, people are extremely aware, and there is not just a public trial in just the high profile cases, but even in cases where there are emotive issues such as dowry. If you have parents who are not willing to be witness for their own daughter, leave alone these high profile cases of Asaram, etc., where there is a clear motive to bump off the witnesses so there is no evidence left. But I think that as a party, if you're asking me, Narendra Modi is one leader who believes that the legal system and the judiciary should move at a pace, a fast track, and I hope that in the years to come we will be able to do that. Along with that, the Whistleblowers Act is extremely imperative, because unless every witness feels that they are going to be safeguarded, and when one talks about safeguarded, in various cases it would be different angles. One case it may be just making sure that somebody's identity is not known. The other case, somebody you know, transported to another
Shaina,
location and is only produced at the time of the case.
Shaina Kumari wants to respond, well, then we'll bring in Ved Marwa again. Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Kumari, go ahead.
Maya, I think coming from the ruling party, Maya, I want to ask her, what stops this government? It's been 1 year, you know, if this is really a priority, and looking at the way, even about dowry, rape cases, thousands and thousands of cases, 95,000 rape cases pending in the courts. So what is really happening? Have we moved even an inch or even a centimeter for that matter? What is stopping the parliament to legislate it? Why we are not getting a proper witness protection protocol in place? Why are we not passing the whistleblowers bill act? Why are we not doing it? I mean, I don't understand. Previous government kept saying it. This government also has this a priority. And what Mr. Tulsi said is so right. If you have 0.5% budget, what do you expect legal system
Shaina, I think
to
the
do?
question
and
is,
why do we keep
you're
attacking
saying
the
on
legal
the one
system?
hand you concede with a lot of the points that are being raised, but on the other hand, you know, party after party, and this is not about Congress versus BJP or UPA versus NDA, but government after government, party after party makes a certain set of promises, and these are things that impact everyday lives of ordinary people. So is this a priority for the government?
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. But an overall, if you want at the national level, it needs to be step by step. The fact that we need more judges, that we need more activism in the courts itself, where cases are absolutely heard immediately and sentences are pronounced. Look at the model that we had in Gujarat, where people were actually from the fraternity, the judiciary, was willing to work extra only to ensure that the backlog is taken care of.
Well, in
we need
Gujarat
to have that
also
kind of
there were
conviction, which is
witnesses
a
who turned
collaboration
hostile in
of the
Gujarat as
government,
well.
of course,
But
also the fraternity.
yeah, but there were witnesses in Gujarat who turned hostile as well over the course of time and over the
that
course
way
of
you
justice.
would have random cases
Wait,
all
Marwa,
across the country, Maya.
When the Jessica Lal case, for example, was going on, it became so difficult to actually get witnesses who were there that night to stand by their statements by the time the case came to trial and there was the entire prosecution was moving forward.
No, we should have a legislation, but legislation alone will not solve the problem. You have to take many other steps to ensure that that legislation is implemented.
Right.
But the cases which you have mentioned, whether it's Salman Khan case, whether it is Asaram's case, whether it is Jessica Lal's case, now these are select cases where even without legislation, it should be possible for the government to provide physical security to the witnesses. A message has to be conveyed that the witnesses will be protected. Now, that has not been done.
Okay.
This of course is also linked to the steps to strengthen our criminal justice system.
Huh.
One hears a lot of lip service to strengthening the system, but unfortunately, as you again very rightly said, government after government have made lots of statements, but have done very
on this
little,
critical issue.
little to whether it is police reform, whether it is criminal justice system reform. Little or nothing has been done.
So today Mahendra Chawla is the latest victim of the fact that nobody is really doing anything. All right, Shaina, I know you want to make a point, but Neelam Katara wants to come in very quickly before I come back to you. Ms. Katara, go ahead.
Yes, right now, because the Delhi High Court has been very proactive in getting a Witness Protection Act for Delhi, and we have a government which is forward looking now. For the last 1 year, the act could not be brought into place because there was no government. So we are hopeful that Witness Protection Act in Delhi will be the first in the country and will be implemented and will be on the statute book very soon. But again, unfortunately, the Delhi police is not with the Delhi government, so there will be implementation issues which will need to be looked at, because as other panelists have said, that in the UK and the US, it is the direct Attorney General or the Director of Prosecutions
federal government
which takes
that looks
care
after
of
these
this.
programs.
So, but I just want to say that safe in India is more important or as important as make in India. I don't know about the central government, because any party which supports people accused of crimes,
right,
will obviously look after their interests. If you have MPs accused of crime, and till the central government is strong enough to say we will sacrifice a couple of seats in the parliament, we will not bring in people accused of crime,
right,
either in the parliament or in the cabinet,
everything ties
this
in
criminal
together.
justice situation in India will not change.